afternoon. This is a hearing of the Chatham Conservation Commission being held on April 2nd, 2025, in accordance with the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act and the Town of Chatham Wetlands Protection Bylaw and Regulations. My name is Karen Latin, and I serve as the chair. Today's hearing is being broadcast live on Xfinity Channel 1072 and is being recorded for the on-demand archives available on the town's website. It's being conducted in person, by phone, and by video conference. The agenda, instructions on how to attend, and copies of documents for review are posted on the town's website. To all participants, whether attending by phone or online, please remain muted unless you've been recognized by the chair. When recognized, please identify yourself for the record. If you are attending by phone, you can mute and unmute by using *6. If you are online and you are not a commissioner, please keep your camera turned off unless you have been recognized. Indicate that you wish to speak by using the raised hand feature. So we have a record of a quorum. I will now ask each commissioner to indicate their presence. Vice Chair Elise Gordon.
Present.
Janet Williams.
Present.
Cheryl Meserve, I do not see, and I don't see that she's online. Okay. Eric Hilbert.
Here.
Bob Delvecchio.
Present.
Paul Johnson.
Present.
And I'm here. We've established we have a quorum. So before we get into the agenda, is there anyone who would like to make any announcements, comments, or have future agenda items for anything other than the properties on the agenda today? I don't see anybody indicating. I actually have something I would like to have the commission consider in the future. I'm sure people saw in the Chronicle the article about Orleans and native plantings on town property. Not trees, but shrubs and all. And I was thinking that it sort of piggybacks onto our new tree regulations on town property, and thought maybe this would be an opportunity for us to consider something like that, where we, on town property, maybe it's not 100%, they're going for 100% native. I'm thinking, maybe we could, follow our 75% native or something, and I think it's a great opportunity to have the public learn how nice natives can look and consider them for their own properties. So I would like to put that on the agenda at some point. Anybody else?
That's a great idea. And it's a good timing since we're looking at the
Exactly.
tree regulations anyway.
That's what I
So
thought.
having a hearing that part of the agenda that focuses on that, maybe we can get some photographs of some really nice, fully native installations and show people how that looks. So,
And it
good
has
idea.
not yet passed because Orleans has not had their town meeting, and I don't know if it will, but it sort of triggered the idea that maybe we would want to consider something like that, and it's maybe an opportunity now that it's been highlighted in the Chronicle for another town. So, anyway, before we begin the agenda, Paul, are you doing are there any announcements of continuations?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good afternoon, Commissioners. There are no requests for continuances on the agenda today.
Perfect. And so at this point, Paul Whiteman, Chatham's conservation agent, will lead us through the agenda.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And Catherine Ricks, our assistant, upstairs. She'll be sharing documents if we need to do that. First on the agenda is a submitted field change request. The address is 34 Scattery Road. Owner 34 Scattery Road Nominee Trust, map 161, parcel 32-2, DEP number SE10 3669. Project is raise an existing house, construct a new house outside of our jurisdiction with pool, patio, and walls, and modify existing land management plan. The field change request is to conduct vista management activities. That's the project.
Hey, how are you?
Hi, everyone. This is Matt Lautenberger with Wilkinson Ecological, speaking to our project at 34 Scattery. So like Paul said, this is a field change request to remove a total of 3 trees. There's 1 cherry further up the bank near the house, and then 2 smaller English oaks. These are going to be replaced with 7 cedars along the side of the property there. And we're also proposing to remove I think, 3 limbs on one of the larger oak trees and do rotational pruning on the large willow at the base of the hill. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Anybody want to start?
We'll let you start her. You're in the
Oh,
starter.
thank you. Can you explain why they all need to be removed, all those trees? The 3?
Yep. So the cherry one is right up in the middle of the view corridor, pretty much dead center in the middle of it. And then the 2 oaks that we're proposing are younger oaks. So they're going to be in that view corridor eventually. Our line of reasoning there is that if we get them now while they're younger, we won't have to come back in later to do either, coppicing the tree regularly or having to come in and remove it at a later date. So this is all part of our effort to set up that space to be as hands-off as possible in the future.
Don't they have a bit of a view corridor already if you don't take out those trees? I mean, if you just pulled in the view corridor lines a little, you would still have a view. I don't know, it just seems like it's a large area. I'm just concerned we've allowed so much more to be done. And now we're being asked for even more, so.
Yep, this is, we were unable to officially ask for a view corridor until the house was finished being built. So this is us asking to have that added to the plan.
And I'm not opposed to the view corridor, I'm asking if it could be made smaller. Bring it in so it's not quite as wide at the bottom, and then you're losing less trees. I'm
We,
just asking, so I'll let others chime in. Go ahead, Janet.
First of all, the regulations that require that view corridors should not be or can't be applied for until the construction is complete is there for a reason, not only just to see what the actual view is, but in this case, because the hardscape's not done, it required us, me especially, to climb up and over and across slippery, steep slopes that are muddy, and up stairs that have big, deep holes here that I literally had to climb on my hands and knees to get across some of those. It was really dangerous to try to scale up there and get on that patio so we could have a look at the view. So that put me off from the start. But at any rate, secondly, this view corridor exists because, and you probably remember this because you were called in to fix the unpermitted tree removal that happened under the previous owner before they put the property on the market to sell. So all that area, that blue area in the center, that is the restoration area that you proposed and that we approved, is where those trees, there used to be trees all through there. So by virtue of restoring that area entirely with shrubs, they've already have the benefit of a pretty significant view corridor. And standing up there, once I got up to the top of the mountain and stood on that patio, the view is pretty spectacular. So I have to agree with, I strained to find the 2 oaks way down there at the bottom, and they're so far down the bank that they're they're hardly, it's so steep and it's so far away, I just don't see how they're gonna grow up into blocking that view from the patio. The cherry, okay, it's in the view corridor, but it's, again, the regulations say that filtered views are what we're looking for, not open views. So I don't see why it's necessary to remove those. And there are also, by the way, this has got a tortured history, and but when this plan for the demolition of the house and the new house went on, we had to close out the previous order that restored that area. which we issued a certificate of compliance on that, but the certificate of compliance kept the view corridor requirements in as continuing conditions, so they are still actually part of the title record. That the view corridor shall be permanently demarcated on the ground, blah, blah, and vegetation within the approved view corridor shall be maintained according to the approved plans. So you still have, they're still of record, so I don't see how this works with all of that.
Well, this is us modifying as you said, the view corridor allows us to trim according to the approved plan.
Trim, yes. Yep.
So we are asking to get this officially part of the approved plan, and
Yes, again, I'm with Karen. I think it was an oversight on everybody's part, and when the last order was issued, that the view corridor disappeared from the plan. It had been in the restoration plan before, it disappeared. So I don't have a problem with reinstating a view corridor. That's not the problem. The problem is the maintenance of the vegetation within it. It's designed, the concept has always been trimming things so that a filtered view is available. I think that more than a filtered view is available, and it does not contemplate removal of trees.
so the English oaks at the bottom of that hill will get 30 to 40 feet tall, and they will definitely be in that view corridor blocking the view. The cherry tree that we're suggesting is already blocking the view and it leaves out.
But to Karen's point, which I also agree with, if you moved the view corridor just a tad to protect those 3 trees, you still have quite a nice
50.
area. And you have the ability, as we said, you have the ability to work with branches rather than taking entire trees down. In my opinion, you don't take a young tree down just because it's young and it's going to grow. When it's in an area that is, actually, we could be quite flexible with, in my opinion.
I do want to point out that this plan involves planting essentially an entire cedar grove on the property. And that those trees would be more than a replacement for what would be taken out. They're native, the English oaks aren't native. And it's more, I think, than you currently have on site.
And can I add that we went through a lot of this about those English oaks. You're like, we went 10 rounds. You're like Muhammad
Yes, we
Ali.
did.
You're coming out for the 11th round on this.
There are
I
quite
mean,
a
by the
few-
time that oak gets in the view, you might be retired anyway, so, you know.
Hang on, that oak will never get in the view. I'm just looking at the plan. It's at elevation 14, the patio's at 57, so
Yeah.
unlikely.
That's the point.
I just, my opinion is I just don't think the 2 trees are gonna matter in the view. It's, it's one heck of a view as it is. So I have to agree with them on this.
Presumably, we could alter the plan then to just be the cherry tree that is in the view?
Yeah, it's sort of interesting because previously, we approved you removing trees, it looks like 16.6, or I don't know, maybe those are the height.
No, that's it.
Yeah, but we
16.6.
Yeah, we approved you removing those. The cherry tree was right around there, yet you never asked to remove that one at that time, which is sort of interesting that the other 2 that would have been in the view corridor were previously approved to be removed. And now you're coming back to do one more, which is a little bit further in what you've drawn of the view corridor. But it's sort of interesting that there are other trees that were previously approved to be removed, and they were in that view corridor. So just as an aside. But Bob, do you have anything?
I had a question on the willow. Keeping it low like that, pruned low to 18 feet, will that hurt the tree?
We'll specifically be doing the rotational coppicing method so that it can have a full crown without us having to go in and essentially hedge the top of it. That'll be producing, a full set of leaves and appropriate biomass for a tree of its size.
And Bob, I had.
Can we just ask, can we just hold on?
Go ahead.
What's the how is that different from topping? What is rotational coppicing so that it preserves the crown?
Right, so when we're rotational coppicing, we pick a few leads on the tree that are doing well, and we trim the other branches. Then as those move up in and the other trees are regrowing, we then come and cut the leaders, and then the trees that had been growing are coming up into that area. That way, there's a naturalized canopy to the tree at all times without having to go in and do like serious coppicing that leaves the tree stunted and kind of sickly looking.
We had willow trees, significant willow trees in Connecticut, where we lived for 35 years, and we had that work done to maintain so that they didn't get leggy and high, and we didn't maintain them to an 18-foot height, but it was very successful, and the trees are still healthy today, so.
So are the willows to get a view of that overflow water drainage ditch down below? I mean, or the little pond that's down there? Is that the view you want?
No, you still won't be able to see the wetland from the house. This is just to see the ocean.
To see the ocean, okay.
Anybody else? All right. I say, I guess we have to have a motion, if nobody else has any questions. Go ahead.
Before we vote, I mean, do you want to talk about revisions that might
Yeah, if
win the
there
day,
are-
or do you want to roll the dice and see how we vote?
If there are revisions that the commission agrees would be an improvement to this plan, I can bring those to our client.
How does everybody feel? I mean,
Well, by revision, I mean removing the removal of the 2 English oaks.
yeah.
Okay, if that's
so
the sticking issue for everyone,
That's mine, anyway.
It's mine.
yep.
I mean, I guess if you wanted to remove one black cherry, I guess we could approve that, but, I don't want to see, we've approved a lot for this property, and I get it, they want to have a view. I think they have a view. And so I think, if anything, yeah, the oaks need to come out of the plan. So it would be just the cherry, and then you probably would modify your mitigation.
Yep.
What about Eric and Bob? Are they okay?
Bob? Eric?
I agree, yeah.
Okay, Paul?
Is this, am I able to ask for a continuance on this, or does it?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah, because you have to confirm.
Absolutely.
Through the chair, you could vote the revision that you want. You don't have to, you don't have to.
I believe I should definitely talk to my
Okay.
client and
Okay.
prepare a second
Yeah, I would
plan
think.
before we, yeah.
All right. So we have the 9th, we have the 23rd. I think the 9th might be a bit too fast for you.
Let's aim for the 23rd.
Okay.
I move that we continue 34 Scattery Road to April 23rd, 2025.
Second?
Paul?
Aye.
Janet?
Aye.
Elise?
Aye.
Eric?
Aye.
Bob?
Aye.
And I say aye. So we'll see you the 23rd.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, the next, Paul.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Next on the agenda is a request to amend an order of conditions. This is a Phase 1, address 86 Capri Lane, John and Tema Andres, map 13C, parcel C13, DEP number SE 103550. Project is construction of a garage, addition, driveway, and deck expansion, Amendment is to increase the depth of the proposed addition by 2 feet within the existing driveway.
How are you?
Good afternoon. Good. David Clark from Clark Engineering on behalf of the Andres. So this is, like Paul stated, the first phase. We're looking to add 2 feet to the addition that's been approved. Nearly all of that 2-foot addition to the addition is within the driveway area. Mr. Andres has recently become wheelchair-bound, and so this change is to accommodate an elevator in the addition. One thing that we didn't add, or is not on the plan, that, talking with Mr. Andres last week, he needs a flat and smooth, durable surface in his driveway. Right now, it's shell. In talking with the architect, we're looking to add to our request to change all or a portion of that driveway to pervious concrete. It's been used in town a couple of times. Last time we proposed it was for the, I think it's the 6th tee at Seaside Links. We also used it at Riders Cove Boatyard for an ADA space there. So I think that's an appropriate surface to use in this location. It would actually provide better drainage than the stone and shell that's there now. We wouldn't increase the size of the driveway, we just change the surface. So that will be on the plan if you allow us to go to phase 2.
Okay, thank you. Anybody have any questions? Bob, go ahead.
How would the drainage become better, David? Would you add like a catch basin or something?
No, part of the design for the pervious concrete, this is the cast-in-place concrete, not the pervious paving blocks. You have to provide a structural support, which is usually 1.5 inches to 2.5 inch stone. That's approximately 8 inches in depth. So hopefully, once they remove the existing driveway and whatever base materials there, we'll get into some pervious material, naturally occurring pervious material underneath, and put the stone down and place the concrete on top of that. So you'll basically wind up with over 12 inches of a very coarse substrate that will improve infiltration. And more importantly, in the wintertime, it's not subject to freezing. So it will remain pervious even in the winter months.
Okay, thank you.
Welcome.
I just want to add, I've seen this done before at a customer's house of mine when I was in business, and it was a very steep driveway to a garage, and I was amazed how well it worked. Unbelievable. It's a good product.
It is amazing. I went to a seminar at the University of New Hampshire. They have a program that's specifically tuned to alternative forms.
It's very
of
expensive to
stormwater
do.
control. It is, but in this location. But they took a 55-gallon drum of water and dumped it in the parking lot, and the water didn't spread more than 3 feet from the end of the barrel. It just went right down.
Wow.
Oh, that's cool. On the
Yeah.
list.
Yes.
On the list is right.
Next time we review that. If you are paving the driveway, doing whatever, not using the stone and shell, does that change coverage?
No.
I didn't
Just
think
the-
so.
the-
I just want to make
we
sure, because
include-
you're already in the outer aura at 41.3.
Yep.
So that would be an issue. Okay, this is phase 1, so does anybody else have any questions, comments? Then I think we can move this on to phase 2. When would you like phase 2? Because you've got to do notifications and everything.
We will file and get on the next agenda after filing. So we've got some more work to do before we have a plan that's ready to file. So I'd rather not set a date now. We'll just file it on a
Okay,
normal
that's
filing
fine.
and get in the regular schedule.
All right, then we will just move that we approve phase 1.
I move that we approve Phase 1 of 86 Capri Lane.
Second.
Paul?
Aye.
Janet?
Aye.
Elise?
Aye.
Eric?
Aye.
Bob?
Aye.
And I say one, aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Paul, the next one.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Next on the agenda is a request for a determination of applicability. The address is 80 Stage Harbor Road, Town of Chatham, map 14D, parcel C1, R-25-2. Project is invasive removal and native plantings, and we have a representative from Bartlett here to go through the narrative.
Hey, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Good.
Hi, Craig Schneeberger, Bartlett Tree Experts. This has been a kind of long evolving process, I would say, over the past year or so, year plus. There's a pocket of area down by Oyster Pond, which many of you are probably familiar with or have seen it at this point in time, which is an ever-growing area of Russian olive and shrub honeysuckle, bittersweet and such. And it's overwhelming an eastern red cedar inside of that, lighter green blob. And once upon a time, the town would regularly prune all of that material down every year. But those days have kind of come and gone. And so we're now just proposing that the invasive material be removed, treated, no stumps removed, and then replanted with natives.
Great, thank you. Anybody have any questions, comments? This is one that is attached also to the mitigation for the easement at 500 Shore Road, just so everybody's aware. This is the one. Okay, and Catherine, did you have something?
Yes, so I assisted on this one, and this is, as you said, the mitigation for the Shore Road, which was about 1,000 square feet, but this is also going to include mitigation for the pump station down at 608 Stage Harbor Road. So this will be mitigation for 2 projects and be able to remove the invasives and plant some natives in this area.
Thank you. Yeah, I forgot to add that part.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
So how does that work? Are the orders for 485 Shore and for the pump station, how is the mitigation attached to those so that
The
their
one-
record shows that the mitigation was done later at this location?
The 500 Shore is, it specifies that the mitigation will be taking place here. So that is attached to that order. The pump station, if I remember correctly, and Catherine, you can correct me if I'm incorrect, is one of those where we said mitigation would be placed someplace at a later date.
Right.
And we're trying to get to a point where the town doesn't owe us mitigation.
Right, right.
So it is, it is in this that it's a part of that order, so.
So will some notation be added to that record that shows that when it comes time for a certificate of
Right.
compliance, someone's going to
Well,
have to know to
RDA,
look
it's
at
no
the
certificate.
No, the
Oh, for
compliance
the
for the pump
COC.
station and Shore Road. So I'm just saying, something has to be put in those files to say, this is where the mitigation got approved. I've just never seen this done before. I love it. I think this makes a lot of sense. Just want to make sure that as a process, it works. I do have a question for you, Craig, though. So, this removal seems pretty quick. Cut them down to about 4 to 6 inches, treat, then cut them down to the ground, and then plant. That's a lot faster than we normally see removal of invasives and replanting with natives. Is this all going to happen? What is the total time frame for this?
So I think what's realistic at this point in time is probably to do nothing for the summer months. And cut them down, because herbicide, it'll be effective, but it won't be as effective, and we don't want to be in there numerous times. Of course, there's going to be a seed bank inside of there that's going to have to be addressed.
Right.
And so I think that's going to become part of the Walters across the street are interested in just participating to see this occur and be a success. So I think with Rick, we'll be able to get him on board with having us in there to treat any resurgence, but.
So the cutting will happen in the fall then?
Yeah, I think
Initial cutting, and then the planting of the native
Is-
vegetation the following spring?
I would think either the following spring or maybe in this fall. I mean, I think maybe we're pushing it to get it right in afterwards, but I don't see any difference really between putting it in the fall or in the spring. I'd rather get stuff established and started sooner.
Because we often see it expressed as that once the invasive has been managed to 80%, then planting can commence.
Sure, this
You're
is such
talking
a,
about
this
compressing
is such a
timeline.
small area
It's a little, yeah.
that I can hunt and peck in there and take care of it. So.
Okay. What is the, so the gentleman on Pond Street and others, why are they willing to
Because
pay
they're,
for part of this?
they're
View.
traditionally, well, View once upon a time, they've got plenty of View.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah, they-
And Rick would say, hey, listen, this isn't about my view. This is just more about what used to happen traditionally for all the years that the town had been going in and cutting it. They were used to that, and they enjoy the eastern red cedar in the center, and he likes natives, and he sees the problem in front of him, and he says, why are we allowing this invasive mass to grow and bubble out?
Well,
Let's
thank
do
you.
something about it, so.
Okay, great. We're beholden to him then,
Yeah.
so,
Absolutely.
okay. All right, thank you.
Anybody else? Bob?
Hi, Craig, how are you?
Good, how you doing, Bob?
Good. So are you going to be monitoring this area from time to time? How often?
I'm by there almost every day, but yeah, I'll be monitoring it. You know, once it's occurring and it's under my purview, I'll be keeping a close eye on it. So,
Yeah.
I mean, we're gonna have, you know, how are we gonna water those plants after we plant them? You know, there's gonna be a lot of logistics where Bartlett's gonna be involved, and I'm gonna have eyes on it. So,
Okay, thank you.
yeah, if I take ownership of this effort, believe me, it'll get done. So,
I used to work for an old timer on Queen Anne, and used to always complain about that clump blocking his view. Because as you go up Queen Anne, it goes up the hill a little bit there. And he used to always say, can't you go down there and cut that down? I'm like, no, you can't do that, I'm sorry.
Anybody, anything else? All right, I think we can go to a motion.
I move that we approve the RDA for 80 Stage Harbor Road
Second.
For
for
negative two,
two.
I think.
I almost got it without you.
Second.
I tried to whisper.
It's -2, right, Paul?
Correct.
Thank you.
Okay. Paul?
Aye.
Janet?
Aye.
Elise?
Aye.
Eric?
Aye.
Bob?
Aye.
And I say aye. Okay, thank you. Next, Paul, please.
Next on the agenda, we'll move into a notice of intent. The address is 112 Independence Lane. The applicants are Scott and Insley Copeland, map 13B, parcel DC5, DEP number SE10 3727. The project is construction of a barn and a driveway expansion within the buffer zone to a bordering vegetated wetland, BVW. That's the project.
How are you?
Good, how are you? Mike Tanis, Blue Flax Design. Based on the feedback from the commissioners of last hearing, we've made a few changes to the plans. Primarily, we've moved the mitigation area to the west side of the driveway, closer to the wetland. The client also requested that we remove the grass strips in the driveway, which increases the mitigation requirement, so we're now increasing the mitigation to 650 square feet. I substituted out some of the smaller shrubs on the previous plan for larger ones that are more shade tolerant because of the location of the mitigation area. And we're still proposing to do the invasive removal in the old mitigation area. But I've also substituted out some of those plants because after an additional look, there's still a lot of natives under the invasive vines that I think will come back once we remove those, and we'll just plug in the gaps with a few beach plums and the 2 trees.
Great, thank you. Anybody have any questions, comments? I will say thank you for listening. Thank you to you, thank you to the owner. I'm excited about this option. So, anybody else?
I was also going to say thank you. You really listened with both ears, so thank you for that.
Just to clarify, so the part of the driveway going to the new part is still the same geoblock grass pavers?
Yes.
But there was gonna be grass in between those pavers, and that's what's
That's
been
still,
removed?
no,
what I'm-
as mitigation, the existing driveway, as you come in off of Independence,
Yeah,
we're going to add grass strips,
oh, in there, okay.
and we counted that towards some of the mitigation. Or, not towards the mitigation, but a reduction in site coverage.
Coverage, okay.
So now that that's been removed,
That added,
Mike's plan shows the actual mitigation increasing to compensate for that.
got it.
And I neglected to file our revised site plan, so I have 2 copies for the record so that it matches Blue Flax's plan.
Okay, thank you. I got that digitally this morning, so I was
Yes.
just looking at it, trying to figure out where the change happened, so thank you for that explanation.
Anybody else? Comments, questions? Then I think we probably can go to an order. So how does the 23rd sound? Because, oh, wait a minute, let me check. You were approved already with ZBA, correct?
This didn't require ZBA.
Oh, okay. Well, special permit. You were, you were granted a special permit on February 27th, it says.
That doesn't sound right.
I'm reading what
this,
she said. Don't know.
Okay.
All right, well, but anyway, you're all set with anything else, so we could go to, I think, the 23rd, if that works.
Yes.
Okay,
I move we continue 112 Independence Lane to April 23rd, 2025 for an order of conditions.
Second.
okay. I'm going to start this side. Bob?
Aye.
Eric?
Aye.
Elise?
Aye.
Janet?
Aye.
Paul?
Aye.
And I say aye, so we'll see you then. Thank you. Which, oh, yeah, I know. Isn't that funny? Yeah, I noted that. Okay, Paul, I'm sorry.
Oh, no problem. Next on the agenda is a notice of intent, 186 Strong Island Road is the address. The applicants David and Judith Donio, or Dono, map 13M, parcel 48, DEP number SE 103724. The project is to construct an 8 by 18-foot swimming pool and expansion of an existing patio, seasonal rollout boardwalk, and seasonal access steps, installation of mitigation plantings, invasive plant management, and native plant restoration. That's the project.
How are you?
Good afternoon, everyone. Teresa Sprague with Blue Flax Design. I'm going to go over quickly the changes that we've made to the plan. Just as a quick reminder, the overall project is, as Paul just stated, is a proposal to expand the patio and add the plunge pool, add a set of removable seasonal steps, laterally expand the garage under an existing deck, locate pool mechanicals under an existing deck, add a mounted kayak rack to an existing shed, and then add native plantings, remove invasive vegetation, and restore the vegetated buffer. Since our last hearing, we have received our no-take letter from NHESP that was dated March 14th. In addition, we've made some changes to the plan, and we've also submitted a revised request for a variance. So the changes that we've made to the plan specifically are we have removed the proposed rollout boardwalk and benches located on the eastern side of the property. We are proposing just to maintain the existing 3-foot wide sandy footpath that runs through the dune in that area. We have also reduced the size of the patio, so we reduced the size of the patio by approximately 79 square feet around the surrounding pool, so we've brought that in tighter so that it's currently in line with the existing stairs on the new deck. And then the question came up of whether or not we were at that or over that 35% within the 50 to 100-foot buffer zone, and we were just slightly over that 35%. So with the reduction in the patio, and then we've reduced the portion of the driveway by approximately 104 square feet that goes into the 100-foot buffer zone. So with that, that brings us down to 34.98% coverage within the 50 to 100-foot buffer, so we're just under that 35% area. We have also changed our coverage calculations table, and we submitted a new NOI checklist with that updated coverage calcs table, and then the updated coverage calculations table that's on the plan. In addition to that, we have revised our request for a variance to only include the seasonal removable staircase. And with that, we have included some images of what the homeowners are hoping to install for these proposed seasonal stairs. It's a 32-inch wide aluminum staircase that will just allow them safe access over that steeper portion of the dune. We're continuing to remove approximately 665 square feet of lawn in the northwest corner to plant that out, again, to increase the vegetated buffer, but also prevent people accessing and walking across the property to the parking lot just to the west of that. And the kayak rack we've made more clear. We've also shared an example of the kayak rack. It will be mounted to the back of the existing shed, so there'll be no footprint on the ground for that. So with that, we're looking at a total increase with the seasonal removable steps of 517 square feet overall within conservation jurisdiction, and we're proposing 3,162 square feet of mitigation with lawn removal, planting, invasive species removal, and restoration in the existing vegetated buffer, which is just about greater than a 6-to-1 ratio for mitigation. So I am happy to answer any questions that you have about the revisions to the plan.
Anybody want to start? I'll start. Okay, I have a couple questions about the coverage table.
Yes.
So previously, you had in the NDZ, you had 176 square feet was the net change, and now it's 19. That is because you're not doing the one path?
Correct.
Okay.
That's the roll-up boardwalk and the benches that we've removed.
So then, previously, there was no change in the outer aura for the area of structures, dwelling sheds, decks, et cetera, and now it's 9 square feet.
So there is a lateral expansion of the garage underneath the deck, and if you look closely at the plan, if you look closely at the plan, I shaded it in gray.
Oh, yes.
It's just this small corner within the
Okay.
100-foot buffer zone that the garage is expanding, so it totals 9 square feet.
And maybe that was already there last time, but we didn't catch it?
I think I wasn't counting it because it was under the existing deck.
Okay.
So I'm adding it just for clarification purposes and also for clarification with the ZBA application that the homeowners will be resubmitting to the Zoning Board of Appeals.
Okay.
Yes.
So then, the next part, the area of hardscape pools, walkways, driveways, et cetera, originally, on the old coverage table, the existing was 724 square feet, but now the existing is 424.
Again, so because of the way your calculations table is laid out, it's a little bit confusing because deck is considered structure, hardscape is considered hardscape. So the patio, the existing brick patio, so again, in order to make it a little more clear, I shaded it in gray. So there's an existing brick patio underneath deck.
Right.
So I'm including all of that now,
Okay.
as well as the actual house itself within the 100-foot
And I
buffer.
think before we questioned whether that had been permitted previously, and you were saying that, yes, there was a previous order, but we can't find it.
Well, the existing brick patio and deck was part of the house when the house was constructed. There has been a change to the deck, so you can see the deck was squared off. So all that happened was there was a set of stairs and the deck was squared off, and that was approved as an administrative review.
Oh, I don't know that we have a record of that.
I actually, oh, sorry.
It is? Okay,
Yep.
good. Okay, phew.
Yeah, because I don't think there was any increase. So what happened is where this curve to that deck that I'm showing, which was the existing brick, is underneath that deck, and that's the shape, same exact shape as the deck above it. So that deck has been squared off. You can see the new posts, and now there's a set of stairs that go up and down from the deck just to the west. And that was the only change that was made. So I think it was a wash of square footage for the deck, but that brick patio still remains underneath the deck.
Okay, great. Thank you for clarifying all that.
Okay.
Then I have one more small thing.
Sure.
And this is more, I think we need you to maybe present another plan, because your previous plan, landscape and mitigation plan, had how many square feet each, the invasive management, the lawn removal, everything in your key, and that's gone now.
Again, there were so many lines and so many things happening, so we have included, there's 665 square feet of mitigation
Right.
area in the northwest, and so we included it as a
Just in the
call-out.
key, you, in previous.
I can update the key for you,
Yeah,
sure.
previously in your key, you had those numbers.
Yep.
And it's helpful,
Okay,
especially when we're writing an order.
absolutely. No
So
problem.
that's just,
Yep,
as I said, that's just a little thing. But
Yep.
anybody else? Go ahead, Eric.
So the brick was added in the percentage, right?
it was
Yeah,
added in the
okay.
percentage,
And
that's
then
correct.
the pink planting plan, that's just foundation planting.
They're
That has
foundation
nothing to do with
plantings, but we are.
mitigation, is it?
No, and we're not counting that towards the mitigation,
Right.
but we just wanted to point out that they are using all native vegetation in their
Great.
planting because it's
Thank you.
within the buffer zone.
Anybody else? Go ahead.
Okay. So I have a couple questions about the stairway.
Yes.
Interesting concept and design. I guess, I know this is not done. This is this is the concept that they're pursuing, is that?
Yes, that's
I have
correct.
that right?
Yep.
How does this dune is pretty unconsolidated, loose sand. Mm-hmm. So how does this stairway secure itself against a moving mound of sand?
Right, so I don't think that it's happening, that there's a lot of movement in the season, and I think that's why, and the homeowners put together this presentation to show the picture of what they were imagining here, and I think that's why they're showing the photo illustration only. So I think it basically just lays on the dune, so I don't think it's secured in any way. I think it just lays on and it looks like it's got a footing. It's basically a ladder.
Yeah.
Yeah, so.
It is.
Yes,
So that, but
with railings,
Yeah,
handrails.
but it seems to me that as people go up and down that, it will shift.
And I have to be honest, I'm not quite sure. My understanding is it's not being secured, it's kind of resting on the dune. It is fairly steep in our land management plan on page, on page 4 of our land management plan, we have a photo of this area. And as you move from east to west, it gets more steep as we're moving towards the parking lot area for the Strong Island Road landing. Strong Island Landing. And so it is quite steep in that area, so I can see that this would just rest against this, and it would basically rest against it like a ladder. It may have to be repositioned, but it is absolutely meant to be seasonal and only to be used during the summer season while the homeowners are here. The area where we're maintaining that existing, the reason that they were previously requesting to shift that path to the east was it's a little more level in that area.
Right.
And they have elderly parents with some mobility issues.
Right.
So they're just trying to find a way to get them safely down to the beach. I don't know personally how well this will work, but I think they're willing to give something a shot if the
Okay.
commission is willing to approve it.
So what we had been told, I thought, I had written down, was that this stairway, the removable stairway, was being installed for purposes of accessing the beach for nourishment.
No, the area itself is where the beach is accessed for nourishment. So that opening is where they come down and access that beach for nourishment. The stairs will only be seasonal.
And that's for general access?
That's
of the-
just for general foot traffic
Okay,
access.
but I still have a problem with it not being secured because it is in a velocity zone.
I understand, and I think one of the things is if there's a storm, it makes it very easy, it's very lightweight, makes it very easy to remove quickly. I think that's one of the reasons they chose this particular type of staircase.
Okay, well, okay. And I'll just close out by saying I still have the same objection that I think I mentioned last time about a pool in the coastal floodplain.
Yeah.
This one is only 25 feet outside, roughly 25 feet outside of the velocity zone.
Yes.
Given the location of this property facing the open northeast,
Yep.
and the fact that there's no revetment, there's only this smallish dune, it seems to me that it's more likely than not that this is going to experience some flooding at some point.
Yeah.
And a pool is impervious, and I just don't see how it meets the performance standard of not reducing the ability of the land to absorb and contain floodwaters.
So I think a couple of things to consider on this site, and one of them is definitely the topography of this site. So this yard sort of forms a bowl. What I'm thinking of when I think about floodwaters is I do not believe that this is going to displace floodwaters onto surrounding properties. The surrounding properties are all higher than this property. This middle of this property creates a little bit of a bowl so that the elevation of the property is higher to the south and it's higher to the north where the dune is located. So I do believe that floodwater would possibly collect in that low area. It's elevation, following the topo lines. Oh, you know what, I'm sorry, I took off the marker.
The numbers aren't there anymore, right?
I will add those
Yeah.
back on. But anyways, you can see it forms a little bit of a circle in that low spot, in that low area. With the significant amount of vegetation that we're adding and restoring in this area, it's a relatively small patio and poolscape. I know you're saying the pool is impervious, it's a saltwater pool. I don't think that it's going to hold water until it overflows potentially, but the water will not be displaced from this site. So it will remain on site. It's a sandy soil, it eventually percolate in. It will not displace water, flood water. And again, it is in the AE zone. I know it's close to the V zone. And again, the V zone is my understanding from the engineer, and I will forward you his explanation of the V zones and the AE zones. But the V zone is not based on elevation. It's based on the limit of moderate wave action in this particular case. So I think that I don't have concerns about floodwater being displaced on this site. This site is within the flood zone. So there is a strong likelihood that at some point this site will flood, but I'm not concerned about this small area of patio displacing floodwater and causing floodwater to cause damage on surrounding properties.
Well, it isn't just a question, displacing of floodwater is one of the standards, but the other one is not reducing the ability of the land to absorb and contain floodwaters, which this absolutely does.
Right, well, the patio itself will be permeable, so we have discussed that with the homeowners. We've continued to maintain the proposed dry well for, and if it needs to be drawn down, it is meant to be almost like a plunge pool, so it's a hot tub as well. So it's not drawn down seasonally like a large swimming pool might be in order to cover it for the season. And that we have talked to the homeowners, the patio will be, around the pool will be permeable, so that it will be allowed to, so that water will be able to infiltrate through the joints. So I think we can't make it any more permeable than what we're proposing.
I hear you. Thank you for all of that. I will consider that.
I was going to say that what you can do before the storm is you can drain the pool, and that way you have a chance to absorb some of the ocean impact.
Absolutely. Yes.
Not happening.
You have to drain it into a truck and truck it off-site.
Right, before a storm. But if they had to even draw some of it down a little bit, the dry wells there, it's a really modest size. If you saw it staked in the field, it's an oversized.
Garden currently is.
Yeah, and it's basically an oversized hot tub no one's doing laps in this pool.
Not with 18 feet.
No.
Bob?
I got a couple of quick ones, Teresa.
Yes,
The trees that you plant, will they be staked or guyed? Because it's pretty windy over
they
there.
will be. We always guy our trees for at least a couple of growing seasons till the root systems establish.
Okay,
Yes,
yeah. I almost got blown away when I went to visit the last time.
it can be windy there.
And the northwest corner, there's some beach grass in that area, I think, now
Yes.
existing. Will you just keep that,
We will keep that beach grass in that area. We did not include beach grass in this particular plan because it's a part of the beach nourishment permit that they have. So, but beach grass will be continued to be planting ongoing, but that will be done through their permit that allows them to do the nourishment and continue to plant the beach grass.
So you'll plant around the beach grass that's existing in that
I
corner?
think so. I mean, we're up above the top of Coastal Bank. Any beach grass that's there, we will not displace or remove. So we will plant around that, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else?
Well, I have the same reservations. I am not a fan of the pool in this, on this property. And more importantly, the stairs, as they look in the picture and as they feel in the description, don't feel safe to me. And not safe for the human beings or the dune they're gonna go over, because it feels like people going up and down are gonna move everything around. So I don't know what the solution is, but the pool shouldn't be in that spot.
Well, I have to say the pool is one of the major points moving this project forward. It's something that the homeowners are really hoping to be able to enjoy with their children and eventual grandchildren. We've looked at multiple options when we've literally been working with the Doinos for over a year on designing this project. Looked at multiple options for locations for a pool. As well as, we even looked at the south side outside of the 100-foot buffer, but the septic system is there, so it can't go there. So we've literally looked at multiple locations, and this location seemed to make the best sense. And this pool size seemed to be, we met with representatives from Soak Pools and multiple different plunge pool companies. And this seemed to be a size that fit the client's desires for what they wanted to use this pool for. As well as kept it small enough that we felt that it was a reasonable ask of the commission with the amount of mitigation that we were providing.
I get it, it's counterintuitive to me.
There is literally no other place to put this pool on this property. We have investigated all potential options for pool locations.
When I was a kid, I walked through the sand and went in the water.
Well, they have elderly parents who were concerned about something, but the way I look at it is two items. The stairs, I mean, hey, if they want to spend the money and they're going to be there during the season, and they can try to anchor the stairs safely where you can get up and down. And maybe, as the summer goes along, it'll get, anchored in on its own by use.
Yep.
They're responsible for the stairs. As far as the pool goes with me, I don't like to break ranks here, but I don't really have a problem with it. It's their problem. If the thing fills in with the ocean, they're going to say, well, I wish I didn't do it. That's the way I stand on it,
Anybody? So, do you have to go to ZBA?
They do. So the homeowners had submitted a ZBA application on their own, and they withdrew that.
Yes.
They learned a lot, I think, through going through that process. So they are resubmitting an application to ZBA. I believe that they are going to be on the May 22nd ZBA agenda. So they are hoping, of course, that if the commission feels that this is a project that can be conditioned for approval, that you would be able to relay that to the Zoning Board of Appeals. That was one of the concerns the ZBA had at their first hearing, is my understanding. So I think with that, we would be looking at an early June continuation, if possible, for an order, if you feel comfortable with that.
The only thing I will add, though, on the stairs is that if I was elderly and could hardly walk, I don't know if I'd be going down the stairs
No.
or just simply go down the beautiful sandy path that's almost flat to get to the beach. 2 accesses is a little, maybe you can compromise on something here,
Yeah, I completely understand,
Yeah.
and I think that, again, I think there's a couple of things that they're trying to do. One of them is get safe access, the other one is
We already got that.
right, to close this space off to prevent people from walking
Aha.
across it.
And
Which
now
is
we're
part of the
getting to it.
planting, and perhaps the staircase would show, private ownership. I'm not quite sure. I feel like of all the stairs I've seen requested in all the years I've been doing this. This is pretty innocuous. I do think it anchors to the top. It doesn't, that we're not talking about having to drill helicals or piles or anything like that. So, they're willing to give this one a try, if the commission feels comfortable with it.
So we would have to continue it, but
Yes.
you want a letter from us saying that it's approvable?
Well, if the commission feels that
Right.
this can be conditioned for
So-
approval.
I think I'd like to hear people's thoughts, because I'm hearing a lot of different things right now.
Yeah.
Bob, do you think it's,
Sure. I look at the mitigation area, and I see a real benefit from planting all those natives and so forth. So,
okay,
I think that's the trade-off. So I'd approve, I'd vote in favor of it.
thank you. Going to jump around. Paul? Well, would you be able to approve it? Yes, I agree with Bob. Okay, thank you. Eric?
Yeah, I don't have a problem with it. I mean, it's their dime.
Janet?
I would not approve a pool in a
Yeah.
flood zone.
Elise?
I'm with Janet.
And I feel the same. So you've got 3 with and 3 not. We're missing one person, but right now, I don't think we would, go ahead, Paul.
Well, if she was here and she voted on the other side, a tie would be a no vote. Ties are no votes, so,
Well, right now, it's a tie.
yeah, so
Yeah.
that's what I'm saying. So, I mean,
So,
if you're not going to approve the pool, then the letter that we would write, I mean, the letter that we usually write is that this project may meet the performance standards and we can develop conditions to meet those performance standards. That's all we're saying. But if
Okay.
you're not happy with the pool, I don't see how we can write that letter.
right, exactly. And that's why we were doing the straw ballot, to see if they would approve the letter. And the tiebreaker's not here. So,
Well, at this point, I would then, I think, I wonder if we provided some more detail on the pool. I think there's some decisions that are still being made, whether this pool would be slightly elevated above the patio, whether it'll be flush with the patio. Those are design decisions that I didn't, we thought we'd still have some time to make. A plunge pool or a hot tub within the AE flood zone, I think is something you have approved in the past. So I'm not sure if it's your concern.
It's a pretty big hot tub, 18
Well,
feet.
Right, no, 8 by 18, but I'm saying a plunge pool or a hot tub kind of thing is something that you have approved in the past within the AE flood zone. Of course, it's not something that we would propose within a velocity zone. I know you're concerned about its proximity to the velocity zone, but
Exactly.
it is still outside of the velocity zone. We aren't proposing it within the velocity zone.
well, I think maybe, if they want to come back with more detail, or, I don't know. I'm not sure what gets me over.
Yeah, that's what I'd like to hear,
Yeah,
if
that's
possible.
my concern is the location. I mean, when you look at it, when you're physically on the property,
Yep.
it's just so close to the whole beach, the water, there is easily, if we've had some horrible storms, it could easily, I just, as high as the pool. And I don't know, I just struggle with how close it is, really.
So is the concern if the area were to flood and it was to displace some of the water from the pool onto other parts of their property, that would be the concern with a saltwater pool?
Well, that's, in some ways, Eric said it, that's their problem.
Yeah.
If
Right.
it.
Sure.
If it, and my concern is not so much displacement of floodwater, but it's interfering with the ability of the land to absorb excess floodwater, which is what's so critical in a coastal floodplain.
Sure.
So if it can't absorb the floodwater, the floodwater in the pool fills up, where's it gonna go? It's gonna go into their house. So, but that's their problem.
Right.
But it's still, it's just that in in coastal floodplains, particularly ones like this, open
Yeah.
to the northeast, which strike you as likely to be experiencing storm surge at some point in the not-too-distant future, any interference, any kind of impermeable hardscape is a real problem. Now, a hot tub sitting on top of a patio, that's a little bit different. It's not hardscape, it's a removable piece of,
It's up high.
and right, if it's, and if it's elevated, they can sit on something where the flood water could go under it. We did approve one pool, I can remember, in the floodplain, but it ended up being partially, in-ground, what is it, out of ground, above ground,
Yeah,
partially,
it was-
with a drainage system built underneath it, so that the flood water would go around the pool and then drain down, so it was no longer impervious, it was pervious. And that one we approved, that was some years ago, but,
Yeah, I think I was.
Not too long ago.
yeah.
I
On
remember
Fox
it.
Hill
Yeah,
Road.
yeah.
Because I worked on a project with you on Fox Hill Road where we put a pool in the floodplain.
Yeah.
Thad was the engineer on
Yeah,
that. Okay, so I'm just trying to figure out, how, because what I'm seeing is if this were to flood, and like you said, the pool water fills up and it overflows, it basically ends up in the lower portion because it's graded for positive drainage, ends up in that bowl in the yard, which then would allow that water to infiltrate. It doesn't displace onto other properties.
where's the low point of the bowl?
So the low point, I'm gonna walk over, I know I'm not supposed to.
You have the,
There's
there's
a,
the thing.
you should have a, yeah.
Oh, it's here. So this is like a bowl, this is the low point of the yard. So the pool is actually, if you look at the elevation, the pool is at elevation 11. Bottom of the wall is at elevation 10, so it's 11.5, so I think it's about 1.5 feet above.
There's 10. 10 goes through the house.
The 11 goes right here through the house. This is the
Yeah.
11. Yep, this is the 10.
10 is sort of,
Yep. So we're wrapping the 10 around the bottom of the pool wall here. So we are changing that slightly. So we're wrapping that 10 so we can extend
Is that
that.
a retaining wall going around?
So it's 1.5 feet high wall, yes, it's about 1.5 feet high that goes around this pool area, and then it's planted out.
What, so a
around
foot and a
it.
half high on top of that, would take it to what?
So it's
Top of the
elevation.
wall.
The top is elevation 11.5, sorry,
Okay.
yep.
That's still below flood, so, okay.
So because there's an existing, right, obviously with some positive drainage, there'll be minor, but we're matching the grade of the existing patio. So in that area where the pool is going is where that garden currently is, and there's a hump, right? The garden's almost like a berm.
Yep.
So we're basically just matching the grade of the existing patio and bringing that out into the area where the existing garden is located.
What if a drainage structure was built underneath the pool?
We could do that. So we had originally proposed a channel drain over here, and now we're going back to impervious, but, we could do belt and suspenders and do both if that was something the commission felt comfortable with. We originally had channel drains around the pool that would allow any water to drain into this proposed dry well.
That could help. That would help.
that would definitely, yeah, the channel drain, yeah, is no longer proposed. That would help. I've got the old plan and the new.
Yes, yep. So we can add a channel drain. I think the goal here is, because really, to me, it's more the patio potentially that I think I'm hearing the commission, I'm hearing you say pool, but I wonder if it's more of the patio area that's expanding around the pool, and you're concerned about that not being able to absorb floodwater.
Well, you said the patio is
Well, that's what I'm.
semi-pervious, so is it dry?
Patio would be dry-laid, permeable patio around the swimming pool, but with that, if there was some kind of drain added to that,
Right, because so the patio is at least semi-pervious.
Correct, that's correct.
The pool is still impervious, so,
Well, yeah, I mean, it's full of water. Yeah,
yeah,
yes.
no, I know, but at some point it fills up and then
Yeah.
it's impervious. The water can't infiltrate the bottom
Well,
of the
right,
pool.
water can't infiltrate through the bottom of
It's
the pool.
impervious.
Yes.
Dry wells only work to a certain point if there's a major event. I mean, they just fill up.
They're, right,
Not gonna be
Right.
an endless,
right.
You can only engineer your way out of these risks to a certain degree. You can't remove the risks entirely.
Right. I mean, I guess the question that, if we were to have a nor'easter and, we had, I don't, I don't know, and I'm not sure, I don't believe the Joinos owned the property during the 2018 back-to-back nor'easters. So they did not own the property at that time, but I don't know that there's any signs of this area flooding at that time.
I mean, we can't
No one-
predict everything.
course.
It's
No.
just, we have to
Yeah.
try to make sure that whatever we approve isn't going to be detrimental to the area.
Of course.
And
Yeah.
it is a very open,
Mm-hmm.
vulnerable area, really, with storms.
Yes. I mean, ultimately, I will say that, again, I feel that any floodwaters will not be, this patio and pool proposal will not cause displacement of floodwaters off of this property. I'm confident about that due to the topography on this site. We get a tsunami, I don't know, I can't say anything to that, but I think based on the elevation of the floodwaters, I do not think that FEMA has provided for us, and that's all we can use as guidance. I do not think there'll be displacement of floodwater off this property.
Madam Chair, can I add one thing? We could get some comments from Ted Keon before he leaves.
Oh, that'd be great, yeah.
Be helpful.
What his position- might
Did
clarify
they,
things.
when they were doing this, did they read, when you were looking at the plan a second time,
Yep.
did you consider pulling the pool back in a little?
So we have, like I said, we've exhausted,
Yeah.
dozens of design alternatives. As we pull the pool back a little bit more towards the deck, we get more and more shade on the pool from the
Right.
house because it's on the north side of the house. So we really tried to locate it to maximize sunlight on the pool and give them space underneath the deck, because the deck, you can see the line of the deck.
Oh, yeah.
Here, so it gives them a little bit of space to have some access. It's not a lot. This is the deck.
Right,
Yep. And all we're adding for patio, all of this
Is
gray
that.
is existing patio. So the only thing we're
Right.
adding is this portion of patio here and this small portion of patio here.
what if you moved it a little bit more to the east, and then it's not under the deck? I'm sure there's, because they'd like the placements because of the
we were also
existing patio and the position with the house and all of that. I'm
It-
just
yep.
trying to,
It does, and we did explore that option, and now we get into this cluster of cedar trees that we did not want to remove. So right now, we're proposing to remove one cedar tree
Right.
at the corner, but as we move it further east, we start to get into this cluster of cedar trees, and we don't want to remove that.
right, but, you could go a couple feet and then where you're taking the cedar tree out. I'm just trying to think
Yeah, no,
what we can do.
Right.
And,
It's-
I'm just throwing things
Right.
out. It's
Yeah,
not
it's-
necessarily what.
I'm looking at this and it is what it is. I mean, the way
It
they
is,
have,
yeah.
so they're gonna come back with this new drainage system and it's either, vote again or what have you. It's,
Yeah.
it's just-
Yep, and I will add, I'll update the key to show the square footages for each area, and then I'll put the topo elevation back on. I'm sorry, when we got the new site plan from the engineer, the topo elevation was off. I didn't notice that on the CAD file, so I will make sure that that gets back on. And so I guess with that, if we could request a continuance to your next hearing.
23rd?
I think, yes, I think we could make some updates and
Absolutely.
changes. Okay.
No, definitely.
I guess just one question.
Sure.
Aaron.
Yep.
So the patio, 100% of the patio is being utilized now, or is some of it under the house or something, did you say?
So the patio, so the way it was, the way the deck was previously designed, the deck was over an existing brick patio. That was the current shape.
Yeah.
So the deck has been redesigned.
Yeah.
And so the deck is now squared off. This area of patio is around the front of the house. And so it's, as far as it not being used, the deck construction just got completed. We actually updated our land management plan to show on page 4 a picture of what it looks like with the new deck. So I think they haven't even had a chance to really use it yet. As far as the deck area underneath, it's a walkout. There's 2 French doors underneath the deck, and you walk out. And if you look at that picture on the upper right-hand corner on page 4, we're basically proposing the pool where that garden is located.
So I was asking the question because if some of the brick could be taken up and removed and maybe stone added instead, that would kind of
Okay,
increase the infiltration into the ground if it's not being used.
okay, we can look at that from a design perspective, yes.
All right, then,
Thank you.
thanks, Bob. I think we can have a motion to continue
Yep.
to the 23rd.
I move that we continue 186 Strong Island Road to April 23rd, 2025.
Second.
Bob? I'm going,
Aye.
Eric,
Aye.
Elise,
You're freaking us out. Aye.
Janet,
Aye.
Paul,
Aye.
and I say aye. I'm just
Thank you.
trying to keep you guys alert. Engaged, yes, engaged.
Thank you for your time and your willingness to work with us on this. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Paul, the next, please.
Last on the agenda is a request for a certificate of compliance. The address is 79 Barcliff Avenue. John and Elizabeth Gardner are the applicants, map 15F, parcel 44, DEP number SE10 2384. This was a 2008, I believe, order. Replace timber stairs, view pruning, maintain footpath. The catwalk was never constructed. And I visited the site yesterday. I had a lengthy conversations with Dave over the last 2 days, but I think the best way is to let him do a presentation. And if you have any questions, then I can chime in as also.
David Clark Engineering on behalf of the gardeners. As Paul said, this was from back in 2008. I can't remember what happened Monday, let alone 2008, but it was a long time ago, and the record's a little thin on what was requested, as well as the order of conditions was not what is expected these days. But as Paul stated, the catwalk was not constructed. The path has been somewhat maintained over the last 20 years. The stairs were replaced. Unfortunately, they used poor materials, and they're getting close to being in need of replacing again. But they were replaced, and then the last part of the project was some view pruning. So as far as what was permitted, I believe everything is in compliance with that order. And that's why we're here.
Thank you. Okay, Paul, you're the one that visited it, I think?
Yes, I did. Did you all have a chance to see it?
Yeah.
Okay. I'd like to hear your comments if you have any. And
I saw the fence, I saw the compost. It is a permanent structure, which is interesting, and I don't think that was permitted, but at the same time, I don't know, I think it's approvable.
yeah, I mean, the plan when originally done, the line came off the old Conservancy District line. That's how they did it back then. And we developed a inland bank regulation, which would probably even put the delineation line even further toward the pond.
Right.
So I think the fence and the compost thing is outside of our jurisdiction.
Is it now?
Yeah.
Okay. I couldn't remember if that
so-
was, I mean, it looked fine, and actually I talked to Eric about it, because Eric used to be the one that maintained this property, and he said the owner, the gardeners, were very specific, don't dump down below the fence and, everything. So I think they've been very, very careful and cognizant, which I appreciate. So I do think it's approvable.
And the delineation of the resource area being the Conservancy District contour, I feel is quite conservative in this location. We did a stair project on the other side of the pond on Ocean View Terrace back in 2017. And I went back and looked at that site plan. We had the BVW flagged by Blue Flags, and we also showed the Conservancy District line, because that's a zoning issue, and the BVW was on average 20 feet closer to the pond than the Conservancy District. We have a new project that we just started getting the existing conditions plan together. It's 3 or 4 properties to the west on this same side of the pond, and then similar, in that instance, the Conservancy District line is inland from the BVW. So I think in this case, although there is a fence there, the jurisdictional lines are very conservative on this plan.
I appreciate that, thank you. Does anybody else have any questions, comments? All right, then I think we can have a motion.
I move that we approve the certificate of compliance for 79 Barcliff Avenue.
Second.
Okay, Bob,
Aye.
Eric,
Aye.
Elise.
Aye.
Janet,
Aye.
Paul.
Aye.
And I say aye, so you're all set.
Thank you.
Thank you. So we have one more motion.
I move that we adjourn the meeting.
Second.
Okay, I'm going the other way. Paul,
Aye.
Janet,
Aye.
Elise.
Aye.
Eric.
Aye.
Bob.
Aye.
And I say aye.